Carlos with me to help me because my colleague wasn't able to come. And I think Carlos is a great host for this also, so welcome. So I'd like to present, sorry if I cannot pronounce your names, because in the last session I've mixed a name, so sorry for this. So, Ignacy.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you. Bruno. Hello. Ren. Isaac. Friedman. Old. And let me and Matt. I haven't said the family name because some of them are hard to say. And as you realize, we have a topic, and the topic was, and this is like interesting, the topic because is board games in the age of conflict, which seems very updated. So I have some questions here, some topics, but I would like this to be a free discussion. This is why it's like the round table, we engage, interact, and where's the blanket? The blanket, please. We need to use this device to talk because we are too many. Whenever one of you want to talk, I'll pass the blanket and you can talk. You can pass it there. And I think it's the best device in this case. So what I would say is when we say age of conflict, what do you think? What is the first thing that comes into your mind in this board game context? Conflicts. How do you see it? Who wants to start? What's the blanket?
Of course, I'm from Poland, if nobody knows that. I'm from Poland, so the first thing comes, of course, is war on Ukraine. Yeah? So when you send the email about the thing, I thought we would be talking mostly about Russia and Ukraine and how we can help Ukraine and etc., how it changes the publishing. If we, for instance, Portal Games, publishes games in Ukraine, yes, it's happening, there is a regular life besides the war, so games are published there. But then Mr. Trump did some changes, so now conflict is a trade war and a regular war, and it's basically the best topic for the times, but it is very grim. So, yeah. But to answer your question, the first thing when I received the email, I thought we would be talking about Ukraine and Russia, and I'm not sure if this is true. Yes, I don't know.
My first idea of that was what Uli in his first page mentioned, the cocooning and the amount of coziness games coming off, and because board gaming as an escapism of the age of conflict. So in 22, Dorfromantik won Spiel des Jahres, which is a very cozy, very much not stressful game. And Maiswind is an example, and in German it's called Wohlfühlspiel, it's a coziness games. And this was my first idea when I thought that. I said, okay, yeah, what's the gamers do in the age of conflict? They cocoon. They go for coziness. It is a big ass piece.
When I heard about the theme, the discussion theme, I thought, oh, the world is always in the age of conflict, but maybe nearer or far away. We have always war in this world, and if it's not a military war, it's a war about poorness, about hunger and things like that. And that's for me a conflict too. So depends the conflict. What my heart feels as a conflict is how near it is. You said
very close.
Yeah, that's close. It's your neighbor friend, and for us in Germany, it's a little bit far away. So we don't feel the urgency of this in the same way you feel it. And this, well, the question is, how does this affect board gaming? And does it make me playing more war games, less war games, more cocooning games? No. For me, I thought, no, it does not. I tried the game of Scythe from Stonemaier Games. It's taking place just where we have the war now. And I felt uncomfortable with it because I don't like war games. In this special meaning of war games where you put your tiles and move them. But when the threat comes nearer and nearer, I just don't want to play games at all. I just want to save my life. And that's what I'm feeling about it. But it does not affect the kind of games I'm playing. It's affecting playing games or playing them not.
Yeah, I was wondering because I think there are two big trends with board game this maybe 3, 4, 5 last years, which are more cooperative games and more very simple card games. And I wonder if both of these trends could be explained by the fact that we are in an age of conflict and people are becoming more anxious because, of course, cooperative games, it's the opposite. It's like, okay, let's have a rest from this terrible stuff and one against the other, etc., etc. And this, kind very light, simple card game, everyone playing Sky Draw, that kind of, even when we consider them to be games, but very simple light game. It's a game for everyone, which gives an opportunity to just escape reality. So I wonder if those trends towards it's also a bit what Friedemann was saying about Dorf Romantic. I've not played Dorf Romantic, but I imagine it's the same thing. It's the kind of games which we want to play when we are anxious. And so I think it's probably not an age for war games, except maybe for the military, but they don't take it as a game. But I think for the ordinary people, it's probably not an age for war games, aggressive games. Maybe werewolf is even over, I don't know.
Anyone wants more? Let's think.
Only talk if you can catch.
Go back to Ignacy's first point. I'm currently working with a Ukrainian publisher, an Iranian Ukrainian publisher, so a man has escaped 2 wars of his life, which puts you on a bad day to context, I think. And his working with him has been fantastic, mostly because it's a hugely positive and uplifting thing to do, and also my design partner and I thought it was the very least we could do. But he said within Ukraine that there has been a significant uptick in escapist games. So there's been an uptick in role playing, an uptick in things like have a escapist role playing component to them. Because yes, reality will. So yes, players will fight it. Do something different.
Mm-hmm. I would weigh in on something that you said earlier. So, it's totally true that we have conflicts on the world all the time. So there is no peaceful time on the whole world at the same time. But I have the feeling that we were lucky enough to have a long period of peace in Europe after the Second World War and grow up in a peaceful time. But I think what many people are feeling is this is changing now. So for the first time in many years we have a conflict in Europe again. This is a war on the attack on Ukraine from Russia, and also we have an uprising in many countries in Europe, in Central Europe, from fascist parties, like in Germany as well. And it feels different now. So I also think that this is a different kind of conflict, at least for us European centristic people, that we only care too much about our own view, and it feels weird. So
one of my most cherished experience in the last 2 years was playing Weimar by Matthias Kramer. It's a game about the political situation in Germany just before the rise of the Nazi Party, and it's a game that more people should play because you can see how everything goes down the drain. But it's also a game that teaches you about history, and that was very, very inspiring.
What's the bracket? No one?
I'll just keep talking and. Can I choose somebody?
I have another question to fuel the discussion. One of it was, when you start designing a game, do you think in a conflict? So in a way, are we delivering a conflict for the players? Do you think it as a conflict, as a challenge in a mechanical perspective, narrative perspective? Do you think every game should have an internal conflict or not? Don't you frame it like this?
Well, not necessarily every game needs to have an internal conflict, but it is, at least for me, one of those things that makes a design more interesting if there is one. And quite often I tend to place some in there when it's kind of feasible. But it's not something that I would say that every game must have it.
I say every game must have a challenge. Challenge is not necessarily a conflict, it can be.
Yeah.
For me, gaming becomes interesting if there's an inner conflict in myself, not all in the game, but basically the thing I like most about gaming is decision making, and most of the time this is a conflict within myself, but this is true for games I play with. I'm mainly pure Eurogamer. I'm not the wargamer, but there's always conflict. I would say conflict is decision making, but it's something like this, maybe. And this is what makes games interesting. And you can have this decision making in cozy games, but you can also put it in a conflict situation. And so most of the time, I think dealing with decision making is what makes gaming interesting, and that's what I try to do in every game.
My design idea has a lot to do with exploring a new mechanism, whatever you call it. I'm not searching for new ways of scoring, I'm just searching for new ways of interacting, so it is always fun for me to find out something that the players suffer with the game system. See what could I do now with this system? So somebody always asks me, what's your favorite game? I said, yeah, it's a favorite game. My favorite game is a new game I like. It's just getting to know a new game with something new that inspires me is what I'm searching for, and therefore I did what I do when I work, to make innovative new ways of gaming. Kind of. This is what me, yeah. So it is for me. It is much more exploring. It's not getting people into conflict. I like to explore new, interaction with the game mechanics.
But can I get victory points?
But
But can I get victory points?
Well, it's a long story. Now I can say everything about freedom. No, I just wanted to say I have a totally different approach than you, Friedman. My approach is to tell a story. To tell a story about building skyscrapers. So it was Manhattan. Tell a story about the introduction of the postal system in Germany. This was Tonnen Taxis. I wanted to tell a story. What about the initial thing was Outpost? What has been done on our world with the slaves in Puerto Rico? What happened there? And I wanted to, this was a big fault of mine, that I thought, let's the players' experience on whose shoulders this your economy did rise. This was a complete bad approach, because that's to be done in books and in discussions, but not in the game. So Ravensburger for sure knew that, and they made columnists double these things. Yeah. But it's a story and the conflicts, and then I'm looking for to go back to your question. Then I'm looking for a mechanic that might fit. And luckily enough, I found a mechanic that's working with the roads there. And this is a kind of conflict. The conflict is more, it's a more game about influence, about how do you, no, it's enough to say about influence and decision making and timing. Or what will I do, or what kind of stuff. Yeah. So maybe there is a conflict. If I would make a game about a war, I will never do it. But if I would, it would be a game about a direct conflict between the players.
But you have that in Puerto Rico, because normally the best move you can make is that's the most hurtful to all the other players.
Yeah, sure. You do it. You do it. Yes, in real life with the deal makers and little people they think that they are ruling the world. Deals.
So, I don't usually use the frame of conflict in designing a game, but what I do think about is expressiveness. So, the games that I like the most, both to play and to design, are games in which when a player makes a move, it expresses many things. And I think that one of the challenges in board games with conflict is that real human conflicts are not simple. They're nuanced, they're layered. And when you try and boil it down and say, this game is about a conflict, first off, you're simplifying it tremendously, and second, inevitably, you're taking an opinion about the conflict. I prefer for the players to have their opinions, and for a move that you make to express something about that conflict that is more nuanced. And if you ever play an abstract game, and you get into that moment where a player pushes a pawn or slides a tile, and you think, oh, and there's suddenly 4 or 5 different things in your head about what this could mean and how will this develop. That is a nuanced and layered human conflict, even though it comes from a very abstract game. And the irony, I think, is that games that are more layered and Euros with more mechanisms often lose some of that expressiveness because the designer has already traced all the lines, and now you're only allowed to color in the spaces.
I'm completely going with you, and I think it's a problem with games which want to simulate a conflict, indeed, games which want to be historical, for example, and which end up being caricature because you cannot describe things in the same rich way as you can in a book or even in a movie. You cannot have something behind that player is thinking about, etc. What is behind it, just the moves. And indeed, when in an abstract game, can feel a bit different. So I think games can create kind of small conflict, but it's very difficult for a game to be about a real conflict without being a caricature.
I don't quite agree with that because I believe that you can make a believable and interesting game about a real conflict there are several good examples of that as well. Some designed by me, some designed by some others, and I think that you just need to then make it so that the feeling that it passes to the players is somehow tied to the actual conflict that you are talking about. So it might then pass some other feelings than just, oh, I'm so happy to play this. But that's intentional.
Something that Bruno said was very interesting because I think you mentioned books and movies can be very an interesting experience, but personally I think that board games can be even more intense than movies or books because you are a passive person reading a book. You just have it imagination, of course, but you just read it and you sit there. You don't have any decision making, and so it is also about movies. You just watch it, and you do nothing except watch it. And in a board game, you have to make a decision. You have to act, and you're in maybe let's go back to Weimar. In Weimar, you are the one putting down this uprising, and in a way kill people, and that is something different. There's a different layer behind this. So personally, I think that board games can be a really, really intense experience, other than books and movies.
There are several good examples for creating emotions in board game. There are very good examples, I guess, for if you ever played Grizzle, which is a corporate game where you really fight against the oppression in the world of war. And I had another game which was given, it was the Guts of Glory. It's after Doomsday, and you have to eat whatever you find, and you put it in your mouth. And if somebody has it in your mouth, you take it from your mouth and put it in yours. So it is just disgusting what you do there. Yeah. So it plays with my personal emotions. And there are very good examples for doing that. And this is, for me, it is hilarious if this works.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, but see, when you are playing, I don't play games of war. I played the Wizard of Lot and I like it. But when you play it, you are still thinking about the rules, which doesn't happen when you're reading a book or a movie. I think it's very simple. I've cried watching a movie or reading a book. I don't think I've ever cried when playing a game.
Maybe when
Maybe
we
you
got
stopped
one.
before.
Maybe when we reach the rules to cry.
Okay, right. I've been told about one experiment that was introduced to the. I didn't play it. I just thought about it. It was some players have been asked about a game to play about building train tracks.
Yes,
You know this?
Umbrella.
It's a yellow train that's always.
Yeah.
It's called Train by Brendan Romero.
Yeah.
So you know, might know better, but I think it's a good example for.
I think the audience should know what it's about.
Yeah. I can't explain it.
This is a train game where you have.
So
Yeah.
So I worked with Brendan. Oh, sorry.
Okay, you're nearer to that.
So Brenda Romero is a game designer, mostly in computer games, a legendary figure in the industry. She was a designer of Wizardry, and she's currently married to John Romero, Doom, and she did a game. She did a series of games, 4 games, under the title "The Mechanic is the Message," and they are all games about human tragedies. This one in particular, Train, was the one that I think got the most publicity. The game is presented to players as a game about building trains and delivering things. And though there are several hints along the way, when you make your first delivery, your first destination, you discover that the yellow cubes that you've been putting into the trains were actually heading to a concentration camp. And you are now realizing that you are a Nazi and that you are aiding and basically destroying human people. And what happens next? Because the game doesn't exactly have a victory condition, and the game doesn't exactly tell you what to do. And so it's an important game, and it's a game that can be very deeply affecting to people, though people have different reactions to it. And some players say, well, this is the game, and it's just a game, and I'm going to keep playing it, because just because you put the word Auschwitz on the board doesn't mean that I'm not playing a train game. And some players will be very angry and offended and walk away, and, so there's. But ultimately, and this game comes up a lot, I don't think it's a game.
No,
I think it's a performance piece, right? It's an art piece, and it's a beautiful art piece that uses games to create its effect. So I don't know what I can learn about game design from that, other than at least one thing, which is that it is extremely, extremely unpleasant to fool your players about their very expectation about what the game is about.
okay.
Consent is important.
Yeah.
But you mentioned the point of the concept of art, and a lot of people. I had a lot of discussions if game design is art or not. Yeah, and I feel as an artist, as a game designer. For me, it's true that I'm an artist, but sometimes it is like if a game is only the product, it might not be a piece of art anymore. I cannot really figure it out if it's true or not. And on the other direction, the train is more a piece of art than a product. So we have a wide scale of things we can do in our business, in our game design. A lot of people, yes, I am a businessman. Yes, I have a company and I have to earn a lot of money out of my games. But this is not my intent to make games. It is a necessity to me to get my living out of games, but it is not, the money I get from it is not the purpose I do it. I want to make these games. And therefore I feel more like an artist than a businessman.
Let's go back to what Uli was saying about a lot of the simulation of conflict stuff. It's quite boring. It's not necessarily fun to play, right? Whereas, whereas if I guess whatever we do still has to be fun. Otherwise, no one's going to play. It doesn't become. It's not a game. It's a simulation of something which is quite humdrum, and you have to pay your players. Effectively, what's happening here, right? Pay your players to experience it. That's not. I mean, it might still be a functional game. It's not a functional product, though. And like it can however, do you go into the design of conflict and hand? To go back to the original question. Do you go into design of the conflict and something like that? Yeah, you definitely would, right? You definitely show that the conflict in your hand. I think you go into this and go, is this conflict fun? I mean, that should be the question to ask. Right? Are people going to have a good time experiencing this, whatever this conflict is? If it's not fun, then you should approach it right now. Everything needs to be a game.
I'll just go back to the question, and I think just finish that. I don't design thinking about the conflict. I design, and I think all of us design thinking about engagement. We want players to be engaged. And then when you do a cooperative game, they are engaged, not doing in a conflict. If you do a Euro game, they are engaged and maybe not that much in a conflict. If you are doing Ameritrash, there will be a conflict, yes. But I don't think that we use conflict in a design process. But we think about, are they engaged? And if they're engaged, there is all these emotions and thinking and strategy and maybe a conflict. So I would say, no, I don't think about the conflict when I design, but I think about the engagement, which may lead to the conflict.
Yeah. So should I reframe it? When you are playing a cooperative game, aren't you in a conflict with the game?
You are engaged with the game. In a conflict, no. No, because there will be a cooperative games that you don't know. You don't need to have a conflict. I don't think so.
As Friedman said, when
we said you want to create a mechanism. Okay? Doesn't that mean that you are trying to force the players in a conflict with the new mechanic that they don't know, and that's the real purpose?
When you sorry, just answer the question. If you play Robinson Crusoe, you may be in a conflict with this stupid island and not kill you. But when you play detective, you are just solving the crime. There's no conflict. It's a fun puzzle. You're just exploring and having fun and discovering. There's no conflict with it whatsoever. Yes, but you're engaged in both these games and no conflict.
Yeah, sometimes I think it is what I create with the new mechanic is just a medium to guide the conflict between the players. So if I have a new trick-taking mechanic, then I play a card and Ode has to react on that because the game mechanic says what he should do because I played that card. So I do interact via the mechanic with you. I don't interact directly. I interact with the game interacts with you. And this is what I like, if I do something like that.
Alright. We will play explosive games. Are the players ever in conflict with designers? Because I've played a very memorable game of Antiquity where the player, it's not a co-op, right? But but the game was going to kill my friend Gary, and we were not prepared for that to happen. And it very, very viscerally, like, who did this? Who designed right? I'm not having any of this. We're going to save my friend Gary from the horror that is the design ethos of Splotto. And it's not going to happen. And it became, for like 2 rounds, it became co-op, and then we went back to playing a combative game. But, how much design comes through when you create a game. Right? How much of you do you want to be in conflict with players in that respect? Should you challenge them? You come up, it's a challenge, right? You present the challenge for them. How much of it is you when you do that?
Good.
Most of the time, I actually don't think about mechanisms and or is this a pawn or is this, I don't really care about it because the thing that I want to create is basically game feel. I want players to have a certain game feel, and I use whatever mechanism or technique I can have to create this feel that I want to create. And that's the most important point for me. And of course, I'm doing this by pushing cubes around and optimizing resources and stuff like that. But this is basically what I want to do. I don't want to create a worker placement game. I want to create a certain game feel. So you should feel something that I want to create in this game, and that's also why I'm feeling a little bit like an artist, but I'm also feeling like a craftsman, because I need, if I'm a musician, I also need to know how I need to play the guitar. And in Boardgames, I need to create something, but I also need the tools to create what I want to create.
I was thinking of example of game in which there are absolutely no conflict even against the game. I was thinking, for example, Codenames Duo. If you play Codenames Duo, you are not even competing against the game. You are just trying to make something together. And I'm thinking also of a game of mine which is competitive, which was a Kama Sutra. It's competitive, but you are not really in conflict with the other players. And in a way, also all these roll and write games, you are just trying to make your puzzle as good as possible. But you are not in a conflict with the game, you are not in a conflict with the other player, you are just in a race. So you can have games with absolutely no conflict element.
Sorry, but I have to just chop. It is not a race. You do not race. You score in the end, and then you compare. Sorry, a race would be.
Yeah, you're right.
Sorry, because this is very, very important to me. Okay.
I just want to answer
it's conflict or rivalry. So
it's not exactly the same thing. Yeah.
But answering the
conflict means some interaction.
you ask how much of you is in the game. I think there is a lot. Like I'm sitting next to Bruno. If I play a game from Bruno, I feel this is Bruno's game. Like, the best designers, you see them. So I think there is. So of course there's. Last week I was recording podcast and we were making fun of the nation, different countries and people, and designers from these countries have some common place. And I listed top 5 most famous Polish games. This is This War of Mine, about dying during the war. Robinson Crusoe, dying on the desert island. Dying on the spaceship. This is Polish, yes?
Okay, too, dying on the mountain.
Wait until we get Russian games.
I think the best game designer, they speak to the designer and you engage with them actually, with their crazy mind.
I agree, but I think there's also a difference between hearing a designer's voice in the game and feeling like the designer is opposing you in the game.
Yeah.
So think about like, well, you may have heard of Vital Lacerda, the audience probably has heard of him. So he made Kanban, and Kanban features one of the most incredible achievements in all of board gaming, which is that everybody knows the name of the boss, right? It's a character that was created out of the world of gaming, which is extremely rare, right? Now,
And it's his wife, right?
yeah,
And the
well,
name is
and
the
that's the point. And that's the point, because when you play Kanban, you're hearing Vital's voice, you know it's his game, it feels like his games, you know what experience you're going to get when you open that box or any of his boxes, but you're furious at Sandra. Furious, right? So that's where the conflict is, but it's not Vital's conflict, right? He invited you to have it with his avatar.
So I have one more
No,
question.
just adding something. The question I believe is really for you guys because you said when you create a game, you try to create a challenge. And the more difficult the challenge, the more conflict the player has with you, or not. What do you think? When you are trying to create a game, when you are creating the challenge, how, I believe when you created a game, you have a specific target for that game. And the more challenge that you put in the game is the more harder the game and the people that you are asking to play it.
So of course, I guess this is once again true for all designers. We design games that we like. So of course I'm challenging myself. So as long as I have fun with my game and my beloved playtester, my wife, and that's how we push the challenge higher and higher and higher. So that's why my games sell less, because they're very, very heavy and hard and difficult. But yes, I'm pushing the barrier as far as possible to challenge me. So of course, well then Vital. Vital is pushing harder than me, so Vital is too much challenge. So yes, we challenge. I think that we do challenge ourselves, and so therefore there will be fans of Vital's games, or maybe there will be fans of my games or Bruno's games, because we have this threshold. What's the challenge that we accept, what the challenge we enjoy. And there will be people who will not enjoy my games. I'll not always enjoy Vital's because it is hardcore level. And so I think that we are changing ourselves. And therefore our customers will be changed. If someone has another opinion.
Yep, always the same opinion. My target audience when I design a game, it's me. Because I design a game I want to play with my friends. So there's no conflict. I don't think I'm in conflict with myself or trying to be. Though I don't think a game is. I don't create a conflict with me. I try to challenge myself and challenge my friends and possible players.
The conflict thing, to come back to the conflict thing, we are a lot of discussions. I, of course, come from the Eurogame thing, and there are a lot of people in the Eurogame scene hating Take That ethic, which is common here in the content. And it's the same to me. If direct Take That happens in a game where I can just pick another player, it destroys the system for me. because I played the system, I do very well, and now I'm ahead, and somebody decides, oh, he's ahead, cut him down. It is not my kind of game.
It's just fun.
Yeah. Yes.
So this is very interesting because 51st State and Interceptors and the whole family is a Euro game, managing resources, but there is a conflict. So the biggest part of the whole freaking design of this game was like how to make this, that all these war gamers, arbitrage will enjoy Interceptors of 51st State, but Friedman will not get frustrated, yeah? So it is almost impossible to get these two things together. With the 51st State, the base game had no conflict because of the thing that I don't want to screw you. And then a year later, I came up with that idea how to make it that it is not that demolishing the system. So managing the concept in the Euro games is at all different levels. We can have another 1 hour seminar how to manage conflict in the Euro games. It's very, very difficult.
Yep.
Hopefully my English is good enough to explain what I think. I think one of our main tasks as game designers is, apart from real fun games or child games or educational games, is to use our creativity to empower the players to be creative in the game. So, if there's no, the player can't experience his own creativity, that's not, it's not worth playing again, I think. And this might include conflict too.
Yeah.
Sure.
I had several questions, but because we don't have a lot of time, I'll ask
You will send them in the email.
So I'll ask the audience if you want to ask something.
I have one. Do you believe in the current moment that we have a lot of conflicts, that a board game could change the humanity? I want to go very crazy with that. Imagine that, for example, I want to take an example, travel, and the answer and all these kind of things. Do you can believe that you can create a game that make the people know what is good and what is bad, because they have all of the things, and make that the people take more informed decisions? I'm speaking of general people because I have the feeling that you will say before, that the people doesn't know what are the real effects of these things sometimes. They know a little bit, but they don't know what is really behind. Do you believe that this can be done through the board game and translate to the general public? I am not speaking to the hardcore board games, I am speaking about the general public.
Yes, you can most certainly provide education or provide reasonable means to educate someone on an important topic. But it's another thing that do those people who would most need that education, do they ever play anything?
Yes, that's exactly my point.
I would say that I'm specifically trying not to do it because I don't want, I think it weakens the idea of gaming if you know that there is something behind it trying to teach you something. You're not completely gaming anymore. So I try to make games which don't teach anything to me.
We've put it in the internet. It's a brilliant quote from the seminar.
Yeah, but what Ren said, I have no problems with my audience and with my customers because they are well educated, they play games, they do not do this stupid stuff. Yeah, the other people are the problem, sorry.
So maybe we would be capable of making the world much better if we would find a way to make those people who are not playing to start playing.
Maybe we're already doing it. In other words, what if this world didn't have all of the games? Where would we be? So maybe gaming is already pulling its own weight, and that's the part of the question I think that bothers me is the suggestion that games need to do something to be valid. And I know you didn't say this,
No.
but you know, that sense that games need to achieve something to be valid or need to be able to express some important idea to be valid. No. Play and games are the most human experience, and they are perfectly fine without teaching people who are ignorant what they're ignorant about.
Yeah, I would say about cooperative games, there is this trend toward cooperative games, and we often hear that it's good to play cooperative game because it will make people gentler and kinder and more cooperative. But you can also argue, and I think it's probably more true, that playing war games and games with a lot of conflict is also a way not to use your aggressivity in real life. It can work both ways.
I think for me, I can say to the question, no, I will not achieve that people will change their life because of my game. But one thing, a good friend of mine, who is a famous board game designer, is called Uwe Rosenberg. He started a project about gaming in schools in Germany. And this is something that I really like, and he's very passionate about it. And he also started bringing his games to schools many, many years ago. So he played Agricola in a kindergarten.
Poor kids.
Never again.
They didn't care about big points like I do, but they have fun playing with animals, in the fields and stuff like that. So he really is trying to work also with teachers, and he's publishing a magazine about board gaming in school, and that is something that might have an impact at some point, but for my games, certainly not.
I think this is, everyone knows that, but let's say it very, very openly. Like, we as the industry, as the designers, people who make games, helped a lot the whole freaking planet during the COVID. Like, we all know, get the feedback. So many people play the games and survive the very difficult times, and let's say it openly. Like, I guess most of you get some emails on geek mails or whatever from the people who said, I played your games during the COVID time with my family, with my mother, everybody was scared and had a great time. So, like, I don't think that we need to use Weimar to learn about what's happening in the world these days. It's cool, but we don't have to. But even the most stupid game allows people to spend time together and survive the dark times, going back to the COVID. So we help this planet survive the COVID at some point. Let's make it very open because I got a ton of emails from people.
I don't know if you saw the emergency kits from several countries. They are doing a list of things we should have for surviving during 3 days.
But they got
for the
chaos.
internet. For the internet.
Not diplomacy.
There's a conflict with time, and I believe this is the best way to finish. But if someone has,
So are you ready to get it back?
yeah.
We can have 5 more minutes because I've done a bit of a.
I don't have a question, I have a statement. May I?
I think you did the blanket.
So, 2 things, yeah, like when you were talking about like conflict within a game, and like the games don't have to be like simulations of the real life that we all know, yeah, and actually I was waiting and if Ignacio will say something about role-playing games, because they don't actually, the really good role-playing games, like they were becoming more and more simulation of the real life. But now when we went to the indie side of it, there are like the mechanics. It only focuses on a very small thing. The rest is like whatever you want, yeah? And they can still be very deep. Yeah, the mechanics concentrates on the very specific conflict. Like, I don't know, sword fight or whatever. Like the very little aspect of the whole world. But the rest, it's very open narrative, which can lead to very meaningful adventures. So same as our games, yeah? We make only one layer of conflict that sends the message, like gives the game the momentum, but then negotiations open the table, all the, bribery, like the alliances that can be done around the game. So like the one way is designing game mechanism, and another is designing the enjoyment, the story around the game. Yeah, it doesn't contradict itself, but like the proper mix, like in a good meal, is like that you put a little bit of and you are the director of this whole book story. And so this is it. I think that was a little bit lacking. That like it's not only the mechanism, but the story and enjoyment itself that you compose the whole box of the game. The second thing was about the games in the age of conflict and the story. Yeah, like when you saw like when you like the cocooning games and when you try to get back, like the hide from the actual war, whatever. Yeah, like in a dark times of like full-blown Cold War, the movies were there were lots of catastrophic books telling about the doom, about the world. So it was also a story like we are telling the bad story happening, but we are helping people to accommodate their fears. So like we don't have to tell the direct story, but it could be more catastrophe of the like fantasy world that like transpires from our realist to the fantasy world that games create, that helps us cope with the modern day threats and terrors. Okay, cool on that. So that was it, yeah.
Only time to answer from the speakers. No time for more questions. No more questions. Just reaction if you want.
Catch.
No reactions? So, thank you all. Thank you, Carlos. It was a pleasure to have you here. Hopefully we could discuss more during the conference while playing games. Not seated without playing. So thank you a lot.